Angela here from Naturally Balanced Farms, and it's been a while since I've done a pregnancy update for you. Unfortunately, we're heartbroken to say that we lost our baby last week. Part of the reason I haven't updated is because we had some complications going on and we just didn't really know what to say or what was happening. If you would like to hear more about the process and things that I went through, feel free to continue on. If not, some of the details are pretty ugly, so feel free to go ahead and click off now. But we do plan on trying again. TJ would really like to have a child of his own, which I think he's going to be a really good dad. I know he is. He takes care of everybody else's kids, and I am excited and looking forward to being able to give that to him and share that with him. So some of the complications that we had, first off, let me tell you about me. I'm high risk, I'm overweight, I am almost 40. I also am on blood thinners. They don't really know why my blood likes to clot, but I have come very close to dying twice from blood clots in my lungs called pulmonary embolism. That's a very serious condition. I am on warfarin probably for the rest of my life. However, when I got pregnant, they had to switch me to Noxaprin or Lovenox, which is a low weight heparin type medicine. It's a twice a day injection, and I give it to myself in the stomach at 9 and 9 every day. I'm currently still on that, even though we did lose the baby, until we find out if we want to try again right away or wait a little bit, because there's just no sense in switching my medications back and forth. However, the insurance does not like this medication. Unfortunately, it's quite expensive. It's about $3,700 a month for the insurance to dish out. Luckily, they do pay for that for me, because without it, there's a high chance that I could die. So my doctors lobbied for me for that, and it's really not that big of a deal. Sometimes it stings. It just goes barely under the skin, and so that's just what I have to do if I want to be able to have a baby, because the other medication, the warfarin, crosses through to the placenta and can cause birth defects. So that tells you a little bit about my scenario. It actually doesn't, even though technically I'm high risk, it doesn't give me much more bad news, I guess. I don't know what else to call it. I don't have like a higher rate of chances of miscarriage, other than the fact that I'm overweight and almost 40. So, but the chances are still good. It's still like a 70% chance of a live birth, which is still pretty good considering. So that's where we're at. We did have I had some spotting for about 2 weeks that started at Labor Day. I learned during that time that it's actually a normal thing for many pregnancies. I didn't really realize that. It wasn't a telltale sign of what was happening, and so therefore I had to go back to the doctor weekly and have an ultrasound done so that they could take the measurements of the baby. Unfortunately, when I went in at 8 weeks, just after Labor Day, the baby was still measuring 6 weeks and 3 days. And then they told me to come back a week later. I went in on a Wednesday. That Sunday I had a little bit heavier bleeding, which kind of concerned me, but it stopped. My bleeding was just once a day, very, very light, not even very much, not even enough to wear a pad. So, and I'm sharing this information so that hopefully it can help somebody else know what's going on with them, if they have any questions of the situations they're in, maybe it can help put their mind at ease. There's many reasons you can have bleeding. They didn't see any reason why. A lot of times it resolves itself. So we were just kind of in a wait and see kind of mode, because growth can be off on ultrasounds that early. At that time, on September 4th, the baby's heartbeat was so low that they couldn't really get a reading, but we did see a flicker on the screen. So that gave us a little bit of hope. But like I said, the following Sunday, I had a little bit heavier bleeding, but it stopped. During that week, I had a little bit more, but it, like I said, it just, again, once a day, not that big of a deal, wasn't enough to wear a pad. And then I went to the doctor that Thursday, and unfortunately, it was a really weird experience, and I knew something wasn't right, because the ultrasound tech was always really nice. Because I'm high risk, I was having scans done every 2 weeks anyway. And I knew right away, like, I'm very in tune with my body, and I knew right away, I knew actually at less than 3 days that I was pregnant. So I'd been going to the doctor quite a bit at this point already. But the ultrasound tech took the measurements. When she saw that they were the same as the previous week, she just started rushing through things, and unfortunately TJ has been out of town, and so I wanted to record it if a heartbeat was seen, and she kind of rushed right by that. And I was like, oh no, she didn't see a heartbeat. And she didn't tell me that, but she in fact didn't see a heartbeat. I actually overheard her in the hall talking to the doctor. My doctor was in surgery that day, so I saw another doctor who was very, very nice. I was very pleased with him. But again, he had me on a just let's wait and see kind of mode, see if it resolves itself. You know, maybe the baby's position was in the wrong spot to be able to get a good reading. So I went home, and I was a little discouraged, and I cried a lot. I cried a lot, because I just knew something wasn't right. I kind of came to terms with what I felt was happening at that time. I felt like I had lost, that the baby had died. And Friday, I was numb, just numb, didn't have much feeling. And Saturday, I woke up to a lot more bleeding, and it quit fairly fast, but I knew what was happening. Within a couple hours, it started again and got heavier and heavier, and I ended up going to the emergency room. They did an exam and found a small opening in my cervix, and which is not a good sign. But he said he didn't really see any clots or anything. The ultrasound techs had gone home for the day. He told me to come back the following morning and have a scan done. But my HCG levels, the pregnancy hormone levels, were right along the lines of where the baby was measuring at my last doctor visit. So they deemed it a still viable pregnancy. They did give me something for the pain. That was the first day I actually had a lot of cramping and pain. One weird thing that for me was that I had pain in my lymph nodes in my groin, and I was concerned about infection. But I had I now know are telltale signs, the low pelvic pressure, pain, back pressure, stomach cramping in your lower abdomen. And it kind of resolved. They gave me something for the pain, like I said, and I went home. The next day I got up and I was still bleeding. At this point, it wasn't very much on a pad, but it was every time I went to the bathroom, there was a lot. And like I said, I'm sorry for the gory details, but I'm hoping this helps ease somebody else's mind. So I went in for my ultrasound. The bleeding had kind of stopped a little bit. The tech was very, very nice. She said that everything measured exactly the same as they did for the last 2 scans, which was not a good sign. She really wasn't supposed to tell me, but she did tell me, because I asked, and I told her I already had a feeling that I was losing the baby. I said, was there a heartbeat? She said she did not see a heartbeat. And at that point, I was okay with it. Sorry, there's jets flying by. Hopefully you can hear me okay. So I just had to go home and wait and see my doctor. By the time Monday rolled around, Monday morning, my bleeding was extremely heavy. And I knew what was going on, and I couldn't leave very far from the bathroom. I didn't want to leave the house. I didn't feel good. I had all the cramping and all the telltale signs of a miscarriage. But I was okay with it mentally. I was just like, okay, this is actually finally happening. And I say finally because it's very hard for the 2 weeks prior to wonder every time you go to the bathroom, oh no, is this the time that I finally figure out that I'm losing the baby? Well, I knew at this point that I was, and it was a very ugly day. Then I thought that was the worst of it. Tuesday was awful. I didn't really realize how much more bleeding there would be, and for probably a good 4 hours straight, I bled very heavily, all over the place, and that's putting it very kind and light. At one point, there was kind of a comical situation where here I am, bleeding everywhere. I'm bleeding through pads, down my legs, and I look outside and my horses are out. So I go and I put my horses, they actually broke through the fence, and I wasn't in any condition to fix the fence that day. And so I got them situated. They had broken out and come up the driveway and were hanging out in the backyard with the grass. So I got them a water trough and filled it up and closed the gates to the backyard so that they couldn't get out, and they just had a nice comfy spot to hang out. They had full access to hay because, you know, that's where we keep it. And that I also realized that morning that there was a hawk, and I couldn't figure out why there was a hawk 5 feet from my front porch. Well, turns out all my chickens were out too. So in true farm lifestyle, I had to be fixing the chicken house door because they didn't have any food and they didn't have any water. My 15-year-old daughter was trying to take care of everything because my 17-year-old son also hurt his hand, so he was unable to dump the food. Well, in trying to fill in the gap, she actually forgot about the chickens. So they were hungry and thirsty, so I had to go and dump a 50-pound bag of food in for them. I had to get them water. We have these security bars on our screen door, on our front door, and I went and took those off and put them on the chicken house screen door to get them to be able to stay in there because the hawk was hunting them. I couldn't just leave them out. So, and all this was like the low point. This is when my bleeding was extra heavy. It was like something out of a horror story. But I do have to say, within an hour of all that, the bleeding stopped. And I took my son for an x-ray on his hand, and I stopped over at my doctor's office and made a follow-up appointment with them. And that was pretty much the end of it. I did have some spotting after that, but I just went to the doctor again and the following day, and he just said we're going to keep a watch on my HCG levels. Once they drop back down to 0, we can try again if we want to. He doesn't see any reason why we couldn't. He doesn't see any reason why we shouldn't have a healthy and successful pregnancy this next go around. He does say, you know, yes, there is a chance that it could happen again, but chances are actually a little bit lower since I've already had one. So that's where we're at. I actually go back today and have my HCG level checked just to make sure it's dropping as it should, and I'm feeling a lot better about it today. I have had some really low points in the last week trying to accept it, but it's easier for me to talk about now. It's easier for me to come to an understanding. I've made my peace with it, and I've made my peace with God for the most part. So from here out, we're just going to continue on. TJ's gone for another couple weeks, and I'm just working on trying to get caught up on the farm, get the kids situated in school, and you know, keep them happy and healthy and going along. And hopefully you'll be seeing more videos from me because I've got the time. I'm feeling a little better, and yeah, it's a whole lot cooler, so I love being outside now, which is really nice. That's been very healing and therapeutic to me. Sorry, the stupid flies, I can't wait till they go away. But anyway, that's where we're at, and we'll see you next time. Sorry it was kind of long and I kind of rambled, but I just wanted to fill you in, and hopefully we'll have some good baby news soon. We'll talk to you later, guys. Catch you next time.